Welcome to Precalculus Concept video 23A, Angles and Radian Measure. There's only two boxes in this particular video, and the main objective here is to talk about the vocabulary of angles. So we're going to be talking a lot about words in this particular lesson. So here is box 1, and I want to begin by talking about what an angle actually is. So an angle is really nothing more than two rays that are joined with a common vertex. So this is a ray, you'll remember from geometry, and then this is also a ray. And if we join them together with a common vertex at point B, this is enough material for us to create an angle, or the space that is between the two rays. So the angle part is measured by this part right here. This stuff in here, this is what we're calling the angle. So that's what an angle is, okay? Point A over here is a point that's on one of the sides of the angle, right? So each angle is going to have, each ray is going to have two separate names. We're going to get into that. I could talk about point A being on a certain side of the angle and point C being on a certain side of the angle or of the ray as well. Okay, there are four major sort of letters, lowercase Greek letters, that we use in this class and in many math classes to talk about angles. And here are the four main ones that we're going to use. We're going to talk about alpha, and the symbol looks like a fish swimming to the left. We have beta, which looks like a bee. We have gamma, which looks kind of like the fish but swimming downwards. And then we have theta. That's my personal favorite. I'll try and use that all the time. You can kind of consider these as variables for angles. When I talk about the angle theta, I'm talking about some measurement that's in between two rays, okay? So these are the parts of an angle, and hopefully it makes sense to you. Okay, so box number 2, we're going to talk about what it means for an angle to be in standard position, okay? Over here on the left-hand side, I have a coordinate plane, and recall that the quadrants go, quadrant number 1 is the top right, quadrant number 2 is the top left, quadrant number 3 is sort of the bottom left, and then the quadrant number 4 is the bottom right. If I want to draw an angle in standard position, what we do is we take one side of the angle and we glue it down to the positive x-axis. This is called the initial side. The initial side of a ray. We glue that side down to the positive x-axis. And then the other side is free to swing around and around and around, and we call that the terminal side. The terminal side. So now you know that there are two sides to every angle. There is an initial side and there is a terminal side, and then there is a drawing that indicates which direction the terminal side has been swept out. So in this case, the terminal side went up and to the left, and it created an angle theta. If I had drawn this one, for example, that's a different way to end up in the same spot. The terminal side is still in the same location, but it took a different path, and then I could talk about that angle if I wanted to. So that brings us to how do we talk about positive and negative angles, okay? So positive angles drawn in standard position, remember the initial side, I usually label it with an I and circle it, is glued down, and the terminal side is somewhere else in the coordinate plane, and positive angles swing out in a counterclockwise direction. So that's counterclockwise. Okay. Negative angles, on the other hand, if my initial side is glued down and I have another, the terminal side is somewhere in the coordinate plane, then this is the angle that I'd be talking about, and that angle would be negative. So negative angles go clockwise. So we'll write that down. Negative angles are clockwise, and positive angles are counterclockwise. Okay, and this is what it means for an angle to be in standard position.